I have a request. Whatever side of the fence you may be on, whether pro-abortion or anti-abortion, my request is that you examine your position, that you think about your position, that you re-examine your position. You may be completely solid in your thoughts on the issue.
Okay. Got two things to say about that. One is I have re-examined my stance on the issue, and I came out pro-choice after it. Second of all, usually when somebody says that, what they really mean is change your mind and agree with me. And Geerup / Venomfangx had a feeling that that's what you actually mean. And I don't do that.
Recently, a murder took place. Dr. Tiller, he was a well-known abortionist who practiced late-term abortions,
which I might add is illegal in all states.
It's been known that he was willing to abort that child even on its due date.
He was willing. Doesn't mean he was legally able to. Now, if you got proof he actually did it, you should have turned him into the cops, or somebody should have. But every state has it illegal to do an abortion on that date.
Do you believe a woman has a right to her own body?
First of all, okay, yes, I do believe a woman has a right to her body. Apparently, you don't. So, I have a question for you. Do you have a right to your body? You probably say, well, yeah, of course I do. So then the question becomes, how come you do, but the woman doesn't?
Are we saying that she has an absolute right to her own body?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is her body after all, not mine. I can't tell what to do with her own body.
Absolutely?
Yeah.
That there is no case where her rights don't impede on the rights of others?
If it's her body, then no.
There's an assumption going on there. The assumption is that her rights are transcendent. They come down from a higher code.
Not necessarily.
Some will argue that her rights are given to her by Roe versus Wade. But this is a circular argumentation.
Not really. It's very direct. It says Roe versus Wade gave it to him. That's very straightforward.
Her rights don't come from Roe versus Wade, but her rights must come from a source outside of the law.
Not necessarily. Okay, again, just like I said before, that's your opinion. Okay.
But where does these laws come from?
The laws come from society. They agree that certain things are right, therefore they are.
The Constitution declares that we have unalienable rights given to us by God.
Actually, no. First of all, they're not unalienable rights. They're inalienable rights. The Constitution never mentions inalienable rights. The Declaration of Independence says we have inalienable rights. And second, the Constitution never mentions God at all. So here's the thing. If you want to quote a document, quote the right one.
I would highly doubt that God would concede or approve of such an action.
Even that depends. Orthodox Jews have certain cases where a woman is allowed to do that. We'll get into that later, though.
We don't have the right to hurt other people.
Well, yes, we do in certain cases. If they're trying to hurt you, you have the right to hurt them. And there are certain other cases, too.
Science has declared that a living human genome, a living being, can be identified in the court of law.
That is true, but the court of law also does not recognize the genome, or fetus as they call it, as a separate being.
It's called the DNA fingerprint.
Yes, I'm fully aware of that.
From the very point of extraction of DNA of that child, you will identify that child as an individual.
No. It just shows that it has separate DNA. That's all it shows.
The Ten Commandments forbids us to kill, and there is a difference between wartime.
No, actually it just says thou shalt not murder, not thou shalt not kill. The Bible has several cases where people have killed people, and it was considered as a righteous thing.
Murder is the act of taking someone else's life.
Duh.
When a woman, a mother, takes the life of her unborn baby, in effect, this is taking someone's life, stripping them of the ability to live, breathe, have a life of their own.
Yeah, and so is regularly murder, so is, killing in wartime.
That little living human being, that person growing in the mother's womb, is distinct and different.
Yeah, you've already said that, so move on.
In a court of law, it proves it.
Actually, it doesn't prove it in a court of law, like I said before, so let's just move on.
DNA is a genetic series of numbers.
Actually, it's a series of proteins, but so what?
It has been said that Dr. Tiller has aborted over 60,000 children.
And that's according to who exactly? Do you actually have his records to show you that's true?
With fingerprints. And toenails and fingernails. And eyes and brains.
Well, not necessarily, because at a certain stage they don't have brains, fingernails, toenails, eyes, or anything like that.
Pro-abortion, anti-abortion. But there's that middle ground. That middle ground, which is pro-choice.
Pro-choice is what you would call pro-abortion. How's it a middle ground between anti-abortion and pro-abortion?
Does a woman have the right to murder?
Murder is kind of a strong word, and it's your opinion, not necessarily everybody's opinion.
I think this should be settled in a court of law.
It has been already. In fact, it culminated in Roe v. Wade, which said that abortion is legal.
Many who once were duped by the pro-abortion movement,
as opposed to people who were duped by people like you.
I do believe that God grants us unalienable rights.
Again, no such thing as unalienable rights. Okay, this is what I want to know. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. Hope maybe you'll answer. I don't know. I don't really care. It'll give you an idea of why I came to the pro-choice side of the argument. Okay, let's say this. Okay, a woman is raped, or with incest or whatever. Should we force her to carry that child to term, which is basically punishing her for something that wasn't even her fault? Okay. Second thing is, what if, let's say, if the woman carries this child to term, it will kill her. Childbirth itself will kill her. Should we force her to basically die to carry this child to term? Now, see, Orthodox Judaism, they say no. If there's a choice between the mother dying at childbirth and you're aborting the child, you abort the child. And see, I know somebody who had that same situation. She's been told by a doctor if she carries the child to term, it will kill her. Okay. Now, another thing is, this is something that happened before Roe v. Wade. People would get these back alley abortions. They would bleed to death, get infections and die, usually because they were too afraid to go to a hospital, because they had to explain what happened to them. Some of them, they lived, but their uterus is so scratched up they can't even carry a child to term anymore. So, do you want to go back to that, or would you rather, like me, rather having to go to a doctor where everything is sterile and safe? Okay, and that's all I have to say about that.